there, Allie here from bakingamoment.com. So somebody told me that it's like football season or something. I don't know. Not really my thing, but I'll tell you what is my thing. Hanging out with my friends while they watch and feeding them delicious treats. These homemade soft pretzels are fun and easy to make, and they never fail to impress. They bake up soft and yeasty, stretchy and chewy with a burnished brown toasty exterior speckled with little bits of salt. Before we get started, these are the ingredients that you're gonna need. Brown sugar to feed the yeast, warm water, active dry yeast, make sure it's not expired, flour. I like to use bread flour. It yields a much chewier kind of a texture, but if you don't have it and you don't feel like buying it, all-purpose flour will work too. Kosher salt, beer. If you don't want to use beer, water will work well too, just the beer adds a really nice flavor. A big pot to boil the pretzels in, lots of water, baking soda, and an egg to wash the pretzels with before they go into the oven. This really brings out that beautiful brown color. Okay, now before we get into the nitty-gritty here, I hope you take a second to hit that like button because it helps me out so much and I really, really appreciate it. Let me show you how to make them. So you're gonna start by combining the warm water with the brown sugar and then sprinkling the yeast over the top. The brown sugar is going to feed the yeast, and you wanna make sure that all the conditions are perfect to make that yeast super comfy. The water should be warm, but not too hot. If it's too hot, it could kill the yeast. So get that all together in a big bowl and give it a few minutes for the yeast to dissolve and start activating. Once it looks a little bit foamy, you can throw in your flour and your salt, as well as the beer. Use any kind of beer you like, just make sure that you like the taste of it because it will come through in the final result. In the fall, sometimes I'll use a pumpkin beer. If it's like around St. Patrick's Day, maybe a Guinness Stout. In the summer, a wheat beer is really good. Or just for an all-purpose kind of a beer, like I prefer something really malty and a little bit sweet, like a brown ale. But if you really like that bitter hoppy flavor, then an IPA would work really good too. Stir everything together until you get a really stiff dough, and then knead the dough until it feels really silky and elastic. In this step, you are developing the glutens in the flour, which gives the final result that chewy, satisfying texture. If you're not using bread flour, then you might need to knead this dough a little bit longer, and you can perform the window pane test to know for sure that you've kneaded it enough. That basically just means, you tear off a little piece of the dough, you flatten it with your fingertips, and you stretch it out, and it should stretch really thin, like thin enough to see the light through, like a window, without tearing. So if you can stretch it that thin and not have it tear, then you know you've done a good job kneading. Once you've got your pretzel dough all kneaded up, nice and stretchy and elastic, pop it into an oiled bowl, cover it loosely with plastic wrap, and find a nice cozy place for it to rest. You're looking for it to rise to twice its original volume. If it doesn't do that, it maybe wasn't quite warm enough. Try moving the bowl so it's close to a heat vent, or put it in your oven with just the light on, or if you have a proof setting on your oven, then that's even better. If it still doesn't rise after that point, then you might have accidentally killed the yeast with water that was too hot. If that's the case, no worries, just discard it and try again. It's easy enough. Once the dough has become really big and poofy and full of air, you're gonna punch it down, you're gonna deflate all that air out. And you're gonna divide it into 8 equal portions. keep your individual dough balls covered lightly so they don't dry out while you form each pretzel. And this is really the most fun part. If you have little kids, definitely get them involved at this point. They love getting their hands in dough and getting creative with how they shape the pretzels. I'm gonna show you how to shape them in the most traditional way. So you're gonna roll them out into the long rope. You want the rope to be about 20 inches long. It's a lot longer than you think. Then you're gonna take each end of the rope and you're gonna bring it towards the center, crossing it over. Here's what that looks like. Did you get it? It might take a few practice runs, but once you get the hang of it, it really flows. It's like muscle memory. Now the pretzels are gonna look kind of small. You might think that it's stingy, but trust me, they grow a ton over the next few steps. So make sure that your ropes are nice and skinny and that your loops are nice and big, because as they rise, they're gonna get really fat and you don't wanna lose those openings. Because where there's openings, air can flow through, and that means a nice brown crust. That brown crust is everything. Now, here's my pro tip. The next step is to give these pretzels a second rise. So once again, they're gonna fill with a ton of air. Once they're at that point, they get boiled. And I have found that sometimes just the action of lifting them up off the tray and into the boiling water will deflate them. They'll get flat, they'll get kind of wrinkly and sad looking, and it's just not the soft pretzel experience that you really want. So I have learned through trial and error to place each pretzel on its own sheet of parchment. This way, when you're ready to boil, you just lift the whole thing up off the tray by the parchment and slip it into the water. It's just a little bit less handling, which is kind of like an insurance policy against knocking all that beautiful air out. So as you're forming your pretzels, put them each on an individual piece of parchment paper and let them rise a second time. Once again, you're looking for them to double in volume. Cover them loosely with plastic wrap, and while they're doing their thing, you can prepare the water bath for them. You're gonna get a big pot, plenty of water, plenty of room to groove. You're gonna bring it to a boil, and then you're gonna throw in a whole bunch of baking soda. Be careful, because when the baking soda goes in, it's gonna foam up a lot, so make sure that you leave some extra room at the top of your pot. And stand back. Once those pretzels have doubled in volume, do like I said, grab it by the parchment, slip it into the hot water, and let it boil for about 1 to 2 minutes on each side. Depending on the size of your pot, it's probably a good idea to only do 1, maybe 2 at a time. Next, you're gonna very carefully lift them out of the hot water, drain them a little bit on clean towels so they're not like super wet and soggy, and place them on parchment-lined baking sheets. Beat your egg with a little bit of water to create an egg wash. Brush the egg wash over the pretzels. Careful not to miss any spots. This egg wash is really what's gonna give them that beautiful brown color. And while the egg is still wet, sprinkle them with salt. You can buy pretzel salt online. I will link to it below. It's kind of chunkier than like your normal salt, but I just use coarse kosher salt. It's kind of my all-purpose salt for baking and cooking. The coarser, the better. Coarse sea salt would work really well too. Next, you're gonna slide them into your preheated oven and you're gonna bake them up until they look really glossy and shiny and delicious. Your whole kitchen is gonna smell amazing, so get ready. There's nothing like homemade bread, and these soft pretzels are no exception. They're great for snacking. They're finger food, so you can sit in front of the TV with them, and I love dipping them. If you're looking for ideas for dips, beer cheese is definitely my favorite. Some coarse, grainy mustard is fantastic. It's so classic, and chocolate hazelnut spread turns them into like a whole different experience. So before the next big game, make sure you have everything you need to make these gorgeous soft pretzels. Your friends and family will love them, and they will think you are such a superstar. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you love this recipe. If you have any questions on anything, there's lots more info on bakingamoment.com. I'll link to the page in the description below. Also, feel free to leave me a comment. I really love hearing from you, and I'll do my best to answer any questions that you might have. And if you're looking for any more ideas for game day, be sure to check out the game day recipe category on bakingamoment.com. If you like what you're seeing here on the Baking a Moment channel, then be sure to hit that subscribe button so you can be notified every time I come out with something new. Enjoy!